Dear learners, I welcome you all to this video lecture. I am Dr. Kanchi Bajpai, an assistant professor, guest faculty at Pandit Sundarlal Sharma Open University, Chhattisgarh, Bilaspur. Today we will see about course orientation of History of English Literature and how to study literary history. Let's begin. Next, the following slide is the module of History of English Literature. This particular module is divided into 4 blocks and each block has particular age. Like in block 1, we will cover the age of Chaucer and Renaissance. I have divided this block 1 into 8 lectures. First lecture is about the course orientation and how to study literary history, which we will cover in this slide. Next lecture will be about the age of Chaucer, the historical background of the age of Chaucer, which comprises 100 Years' War and Black Death. Then we will see the religious writing, ballad tradition, Middle English culture in the age of Chaucer. Then we will have the close reading of the general prologue of the Canterbury Tale. The Canterbury Tale is a famous work of the Geoffrey Chaucer. And in that Canterbury Tale, he has mentioned a very popular character, the knight, which is a social satire also. His character is a social satire, and his work, the Canterbury Tale, is also a social satire. We will have a close reading of the character of the knight. Then we will study about the Renaissance, the intellectual birth, humanism, curiosity, and exploration. Renaissance literature we will cover under the following points, that will be university wits, sonnets, Elizabethan theatre, major Renaissance writers, Francis Bacon, Christopher Marlowe, Spencer, William Shakespeare. We will have an overview of these writers. Next, we will study Of Revenge is a famous work by Francis Bacon. We will study about the style, ethics that was used in prose of the Renaissance. The second block is Puritan Age and Restoration Age. I have divided this block into 9 to 16 lectures. The ninth lecture will be about the Puritan Age, the religious, politics and literary climate of the Puritan Age. We will study about the metaphysical poetry, what do you mean by metaphysical poetry, and the metaphysical poetry poets like Donne, Herbert, Wagon and their traits. We will study about John Milton, his life and his Puritan ideology. We will have a close reading of the poem on his blindness and How Soon Hath Time by John Milton. Then we will study about Restoration Age. The monarchy was returned in Restoration Age. We will study about that topic, how monarchy was returned, why monarchy was returned, what happened that monarchy was not there. Then we will study about the reopening of theatres, the social tone of the Restoration Age. Restoration literature is divided into neoclassicism, heroic drama, comedy of manners, and the works of these Johns. We will see the major restoration writers such as John Dryden, Bunyan, Butler, Congreve. These writers have given English literature very important and famous works, like William Congreve have given his famous work, The Way of the World, Bunyan's The Pilgrim's Progress. Then we will have a close reading of Happy Man as it is prescribed in your syllabus, and then restoration values. Block 3 comprises Neoclassical Age and Romantic Age. I have divided this block into 17 to 24 lecture. We will study about the order, decorum, reason and satire of the Neoclassical Age. We will have a close reading of the prose and poetry of the Neoclassical Age and prose and poetry writers of the Neoclassical Age like Addison, Johnson, Gray, Goldsmith. We will have a close reading of Joseph Addison and periodical essay, why he is known as the pioneer of the periodical essays. We will have a close reading of Sir Roger at Home and the social satire in the work Sir Roger at Home. Then we will study about the pre-romantic age, romantic age, the historical triggers of the romantic age and the core features of the romantic age. Romanticism, its nature, imagination, individual, common life, Gothic. Then major romantic writers like Wordsworth, Shelley, Keats, Austen, Lamb and Hazlitt. Then we will have a close reading of daffodils and romantic aesthetics. The last block is the Victorian age and the modern age. I have divided this particular block into 25 to 32 lecture. Under Victorian age, we will study about the industrialization. The age is known as the age of science versus religion. Then Victorian genres like novel, dramatic, monologue, periodicals, children literatures of that age. We will have a close reading of major Victorian writers like Browning, Arnold, Dickens, Eliot, Bronte. Browning's work, My Last Duchess, is a very important example of dramatic monologue. The themes are power, voice, modern age, the age of war, fragmentation, psychology, and then modern movements like Imaginism, Dadaism, Surrealism, Georgian poetry. We will have a close reading about the life of modern writers like Yeats, Eliot, Auden, Woolf, Orwell, Beckett, Shaw. Last, we will have a close reading, A Prayer for My Daughter. It's a very famous poem by W.B. Yeats. Then I will have a revision of the timelines and the full course. The next few slides present a chronological series of periods of English literature along with their monarchs. In this slide, we will study about the Old English, that is also known as Anglo-Saxon period, dated from 450 to 166 before Christ. Then Middle English period from 166 to 1500. Then the Renaissance from 1500 to 1660. The Renaissance period covers following ages: early Tudor, Elizabethan age, Jacobean age, Caroline age, Commonwealth period, the Puritan age. Then Neoclassical period. Neoclassical period covers the following ages: the Restoration age, Augustinian or the age of Pope, and last the age of sensibility or the age of Johnson. Then the Romantic age, Victorian age, Edwardian period, the Georgian age, the modern period, and now the current, the postmodern period. Learners may pause the video to take notes. Now we will see how to study literary history. But first we will see why one should study history. Because those that fail to learn from history are doomed to repeat it. And if you don't want to repeat the failures of history, you should study history. In this slide, I have mentioned the photographs of the prominent English authors. Learners may pause the video to have a detailed study of these authors. Now, how to study literary history? Following slides, I have mentioned how one should study literary history. First, you can create a chronological timeline to study literary history along with chief social, political, and cultural characteristic of that age. Second, you can use a foundational textbook. There are so many foundational textbook available in the markets. You can use any one of them to grasp the narrative in order to understand the text. You can also use foundational textbook to understand the themes, styles, and genres that were evolving in that particular age, which you want to understand and which you are reading. You can also use the method mnemonics. Mnemonics is a very famous method which involves the acronyms, songs, or rhymes in order to memorize authors and their works. There are so many famous mnemonics you have gone through in your life to understand certain things, like a famous mnemonic like Vibgyor, which is used to understand the colors in the rainbow, where V stands for violet, I for indigo, B for blue, G for green, Y for yellow, O for orange, and R for red. This is a mnemonic used to understand the colors in rainbow. You have also used the mnemonic in order to understand the periodic table. Likewise, you can also employ acronyms, songs, or rhymes in order to understand the timeline of history of English literature. It is also used to understand or to memorize the authors and their works along with their death date, birth date, the publication date of their works, and so on. Lastly, you can evaluate how themes. There are so many themes that are used in English literature. Themes like heroism or love, good versus evil, power, corruption, and survival, which change across different periods. Because as we know that literature is the mirror of society, in order to understand that particular age, we need to study the literature of that age, and we need to study and evaluate the themes of that particular age. Then we will know about the society, the historical and the political background of that particular age. In next video, we will study about the age of Chaucer, the historical background of the age of Chaucer, which will comprise 100 Years' War and Black Death. That's all for today. Thank you for joining me. I hope to see you all soon with part 2 of this video.